Positives and negatives. So numbers can be either positive or negative. If we had a number line, we start with 0 in the middle, and as you go up, you have +1, +2, +3. If you went in the opposite direction, then you get -1, -2, -3. So let's talk about how we deal with addition and subtraction for positives and negatives. So for this example, we're going to use a metaphor where we have a hot air balloon here, and you can put, or maybe it's just a basket, you can put balloons on top or weights on the bottom. Now balloons, as you imagine, would pull the basket up. So balloons are pulling it up or making it more positive. So balloons pull it up to positive. But the weights are going to drag you down to make it negative. So the weights bring you down, they're negative, the balloons pull you up. So let's see what will happen as we do different things. So positive numbers, if we were to add more balloons, so if you add positive numbers, your basket will get pulled up because they were positive. If you take away balloons, meaning that you subtract positive numbers, your basket is going to get pulled down. So if you take away the balloons, you don't have anything lifting you up, so you're getting pulled down. So adding positives makes it you go up. Taking away positives makes you go down. Negative numbers, if we added on more weights, so if we added negatives, added weights, we're going to get heavier, we're going to go down. But if we take away the weights, so if we take away these weights, it's not going to be pulling you down, and the balloon will actually go up. So when we subtract negatives, we go up. Which leads us to one of our favorite math facts, that subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So if I have 6 minus, and when I write -3, I put it here in the parentheses, so I know that's a -3. Well, instead of doing 6 minus a negative or 6 subtract a negative, I could say adding a negative is the same as adding, or subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So that's the same as 6 plus 3 or 9. So when you take away those negatives, it's really the same as adding positives. So let's try a few addition and subtractions with the number line. So I have 6 minus 3, so I'm starting here at 6 and -3, so I have to go down 3. So right here, so I'm at 3. My next one, I start at -2 and I want to -7. So -7 means we'd go down 7. So we're here at -9. The next one, we start at 5, so we're at 5, and we want to add -2. So adding -2 still brings us down, so we're right here. And then we -3, that also makes us go down. So we're at 0. 10 minus a -4. Let's see, so we start at 10, but minus a negative, that's the same thing as adding a positive. So that's going to be the same thing as 10 plus 4. So we're actually going to go up here to 14. So remember, minus a negative is the same as adding a positive. Now, when you're using your calculator, it does depend on what kind of calculator you have, but most calculators, a negative will have a little button like this. So you'll have a negative inside parentheses on your calculator. So if this is the button, it'll have parentheses with a little negative. That's how you represent a negative instead of using the subtract sign. For addition and subtraction, some calculators aren't too picky about it, but when you start doing multiplication and division, you need to make sure you're using the negative sign when you want a negative. So like for this next problem, if I was going to put it into my calculator, I would push the button with the negative. So I do negative and then 1 plus 8. So that's what I would put into my calculator, so the -1. Let's see, so I'd start at -1 and I add 8, so that would put me up to 7. So this equals 7. My next one, 4 plus -9. So in my calculator, I would have 4 plus, and then I have to do that negative sign, -9. So we're at 4, we're adding a -9, which means we actually go down 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right here to -5. Now, Again, for all of our math skills in this class, we just mostly care, do you understand it or can you put it in a calculator? If you can put these in your calculator correctly, that's great. So now let's do multiplication and division for positives and negatives. Let's see, so if I have a positive times a positive, I'm going to get positive. If I have a negative times a negative, I will also get a positive. So if they're the same and you're multiplying, you get positives. But if I have a negative times a positive or positive times a negative, so if they're different, I end up with a negative result. So let's practice these. 6 times negative 3. Again, on your calculator, this would be, you'd push 6 times, and you'd have to do the negative button, 3. Okay, doing in my head, though, 6 times negative 3, a positive and negative will give me negative, so this will be negative 18. A negative times a positive, that will also be negative, so negative 18. Positive times positive, that will be positive. Negative times negative, that will be positive. Let's see, negative 5 times 4, that would be negative 20. Now I want you to pay attention. I'm also trying to get you used to all of our different notation we might use. So we can have a times that looks like the x. We can just put 2 parentheses next to each other, that means times. We can put the little dot, that means times. So 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6. Because there was one positive and a negative. Multiplying or dividing, that will give me negative. 35 divided by negative 7. So positive divided by negative, that will be negative, so negative 5. And negative 21 divided by negative 3. Negative divided by negative gives me positive, so positive 7.